Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yat Prithvyam Vrihi Yavam Hiranyam Pashavas Striya Na Duhyanti Manaf Pritim Pumsha Kama Hatasya Te Yat Prithvyam Vrihi Yavam Hiranyam Pashavasriya Naduhyanti Manaf Pritim Pumsha Kama Hatasyate Yat Prithvyam Vrihi Yavam Hiranyam Pashavasriya Naduhyanti Manaf Pritim Pumsah Kama Hatasyate. Translation. A person who is lusty cannot satisfy his mind even if he has enough of everything in the world, including rice, barley, and other food grains, gold, animals, and women. Nothing can satisfy him. Purport. Improvement of one's economic condition is the aim and object of a materialist. But there's no end to this material advancement. For if one cannot control his lusty desires, he will never be pleased, even if he gets all the material wealth of the world. In this age, we see much material improvement, but still people are struggling to get more and more material opulence. Manas shastanindriyani prakriti stani karshati. Although every living entity is a part of the Supreme Being, because of lusty desires, one continuously struggles for so-called betterment of one's economic condition. To have a satisfied mind, one must give up his heart disease of lusty desire. This can be done only when one is Krishna conscious. Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabdhya kamam hridrogam ashva pa hinotyachirena dhiraha. Bhagavatam 10:33-39. One becomes Krishna conscious, then he can give up his this heart disease. Otherwise, this disease of lusty desires will continue, and one cannot have peace in his mind. The living entity, then they're trying to be happy. That's the basic element that they're doing. But unfortunately, it's thought that the processes are what make you happy, rather than the experience of the Lord's satisfaction. So let's say you perform a devotional activity. Let's say like Artik. So the idea of Artik is to please the Lord. Right? So now we're going to do this Artik. Now in the Artik we have paraphernalia, and there's so many things connected with the paraphernalia, the cleanliness, the ritual that's there, the timings, all these different aspects are there. So the whole idea is to do all this very nicely to please Krishna. So we, as a living entity, then it's our nature to please Krishna. And that pleasing will be according to Krishna's desire. It's just like on the body. The hand does what you want it to do, not what it wants it to do, right? Does that make sense? Unless you're Dr. Strangelove or something. But otherwise, then the hand does what you want it to do. And it's satisfied. Right? This is, for us in the material world, this is a big, big step to accept this principle. Because even we accept, okay, there's God. Okay, I've tried to control and enjoy everything, and that's not really working out. So there's this bigger guy there, God, and so he controls everything. So if I please him, then things will go the way I want. And that's your position of religion. Is that I'm willing to accept. A religious person is one who's theistic and willing to accept that there's someone in charge except me. But it doesn't mean I don't get him to get done all the things I want done. Right? So, therefore, then, this idea that it's about just pleasing God, just like the hand just does what you want it to do. Right? That's very natural. If you say your hand should, if someone's hand does whatever it likes, then you kind of think that's weird. Right? And then if the hand does what you want, then that's very good. In fact, people practice to get the hand to do exactly what they want, like in some technical skill or an art or a sport or anything like that. And so the better it does exactly what you want, the happier you are. And it's not that it doesn't work all around. Everybody's doing their thing. The hand does what it does, but in connection with the Lord. So this ability to switch that consciousness to, it's about pleasing the Lord. It's not about what I can get God to do for me. Right? Does that make sense? That's the, relating back to that famous quote by JFK, right? So, you're able to do what you want, but what you want is what's in line with pleasing Krishna. You have a nature, you're a person, you're an individual, but that individuality is expressed in its relationship to Krishna. So in other words, we're performing that artik because Krishna has given the scriptures that explain how that artik is done. And the acharyas have given it to us. And so then we do that artik that way to be able to express to Krishna our affection, right? Because you have to do something. The hand is useful because it does certain things. And it does things that are different from the feet, right? Unless you're a monkey or something, right? Or Tarzan, right? So it has its own uniqueness. But it's in line with. So that aspect, the artik, is a way to express that love for Krishna. And it has a specific function and connection to Krishna. But it's about the pleasing of Krishna. So we're doing these things because it pleases Krishna. We're on time because it pleases Krishna. Everything's clean because it pleases Krishna. We follow the standard ritual because it pleases Krishna. Right? We do it in the proper time because it pleases Krishna. Does that make sense? We don't make it about ourselves. We're not too overly flamboyant. We do it just, it's nice for Krishna. And so that is the aspect, how it'll be nice for Krishna. So you see the secondary aspect is there about the technical, but it's not about the technical, it's about Krishna. Does that make sense? So material means we've made it about the secondary. It's all about the artik. So everyone's just watching how they do the artik. No one really cares about Krishna there. Krishna's an opportunity. I can do the artik and impress everybody how great I do the artik. How I'm dressed, how I hold the things, how I do all this and that, any other thing that go along with it that are considered cool by everybody. All those also secondary things, whatever it may be. Enough beads, enough chudders, enough, something. Right? And then I got the secondary down and everyone, wow, that was a great artik. But then what about Krishna? The artik is in connection with Krishna. So yes, it's devotional service, but the effect of it gets reduced because it's not so much about Krishna. And then as we do it more about pleasing Krishna, so externally you may not see any difference. You may not see a difference. But internally that's where the difference is. So this is the point that Yayati Maharaj is making here. That, what is it? That you cannot satisfy a desire based on manipulation of the secondary facilities, knowledge and skills. It will never, ever, ever happen. Neither here in the spiritual world, in the Brahman, in your mind, nowhere. It won't happen. Because it can't. Right? That's like the hand thinking, no, if I just do whatever I do and it's just about that, when I want, how I want, when I want. Then the problem comes up is that how will we be happy? Because we're not doing what Krishna wants. Right? In other words, let's say the hand does hand stuff, but not at the time of that stuff. Let's say there's 10 different things you do with your hand. But when it's time to do number 1, you're doing number 5. So you're doing hand stuff, but it's not appropriate. Does this make sense? So we have to be able to see that all the different things that we do in Vaidhi, Bhakti, it's to express that affection for Krishna. We may not have it, but that's our intent. It's not that how good we do it and the benefits we get from it and all that. In the beginning, yes, that's there. You do this, then you get this benefit. You do that, you get that benefit. Great. But that's not why the pure devotees do anything. They do things because it pleases Krishna. Does this make sense? So, within devotional service, you won't be satisfied if you're using the secondary not connected to Krishna. So let alone if we remove Krishna from it and it's just the secondary like Yayati is talking about. 1,000 years, right? Enjoying his senses to the maximum that you can. That's religious, right? Because you get more out of religious than irreligious, despite the modern, popularity. You follow the thing you get because it gets on all levels. The physical, the emotional, the intellectual, all these things are taken care of if you follow things according to Scripture. And that requires, unfortunately, in this context, because we're dealing with external facility. Right? He's emperor of the world. Does he have facility or does he have facility? Right? And he's got facility. Yeah. Good call, right? And he's got plenty of it. No one has more than he's got. And for 1,000 years, right? That means he's not getting old during that time. He's got youth. So that means, being whatever age of the youth it is, that you have that for 1,000 years straight with all the facilities and everything like this. And then after 1,000 years, he goes, this doesn't work. You cannot be satisfied. Right? Does that make sense? So we should take it from authority here. Right? Here's someone who's tried it. We think, well, if I just do this, then it will be. No, he's already tried that. Don't worry. Right? And so that's there. It means it's how many lifetimes is that? You have 16 to 29, right? That's youth. So 13 years, right? So that goes into 1,000 quite a few times, right? So that many lifetimes, and to have that facility of the emperor, how often do you get that? That's why we only see one of that in the whole, the last 151 trillion years, we got one example of that. Right? So, here it is. Everybody can quote it now, right? You don't have to try it yourself. So he's understood that the secondary, it's impossible. Why is it impossible? We can say, no, but it should be. If I just make this arrangement, get this facility, have this experience, then I'll be happy. But the point is whose world is it? Who's created it? Who maintains it? Right? Krishna. The ingredients are his. The workings of every single ingredient are his. How they work, what effect they can get, what result they can get, what experience you can gain, that's all coming from Krishna. So this is a reflection of the spiritual world. Right? Inferior reflection is generally never as good as the original. Right? Does that make sense? So then, it's like, the cowboy's standing there, in the, there, that generally that profile they have, and then the sun's there, and then you have this mile-long shadow, right? Like that, so it's very dramatic and everything like that. Now that cowboy you might invite over to your house, but his shadow you don't want, it's too big. Where will it fit? You can't get in any of the doors, right? The guy's literally a mile long. You understand? So there's problems there, right? He can't talk. He can't, he's, weird shape. He can't do anything. You can't interact. You can't, does that make sense? So that's the whole problem. Material world being a shadow, it just doesn't work so good. But it's similar. So the same thing, the same five senses, the engagement, the relationships, the five rasas, all these things are there. So that whole spiritual world is based on Krishna, his will. Krishna is there. From his will comes all his associates, the dham, his pastimes, that whole exchange of rasa, that's all coming by his will. And so then to support the expression of that will, then you have situations, facilities, knowledge, skills, endeavors, results. Those are all there to support Krishna's will. Right? So now if you take all those and separate them from Krishna, that's what we have here in the material world. We have knowledge, we have skills, we have endeavors, we have results. Right? Those results give a certain experience just themselves. Right? Does that make sense? And so that, based on that, we're thinking, I will get something, but that's not what they're for. They're there to please Krishna, the person, in interaction with the devotees based on prema. Then they have meaning. Of course, because Krishna is rasa, everything expanding from him will have rasa. So yes, whatever you do, there will be some little experience. But the point is we're dealing with such a small amount of experience, right? To make the whole material world, then it's said that a billionth portion of his energy is required. Right? The spiritual world, he uses his full potency. And to create the material world, means you take a billionth of that and then divide that into a billionth. That's how much it takes to make the material phenomena. That means the whole Mahatattva. Right? Then within that, you divide that by unlimited, you get this one universe. Right? And then within that, divide that into 14. And then we see this much. We're on 372nd or something of this mandala, of one of the planetary things. Right? And then within that, we're on one continent. Within that, we're in one, country. Within that, a state, a district, a this, a that, till we're sitting in our little, square meter there. Of course, if that's using European spacing, but, local spacing might be a little less. Maybe you get 80 centimeters by 80 centimeters like this. So whatever we do, just think about it. How little of Krishna's potency is there? So yes, because Krishna is in everything, it's non-different from him. You do anything, there will be an experience, right? That's what keeps these little kids going, right? You have the toddler. They do anything, take something, throw it on the ground. And they're laughing. They're like, in ecstasy. Pick it back up, throw it down again. They'll do that all day. Because there's something there. But that's all it is. As you mature, it doesn't get any better. It's the same amount of potency. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, they just try to do bigger and bigger stuff to include more and more, but it's still, you're dealing with such a small fraction. It can't satisfy the soul, because the soul, being part and parcel of the complete whole, is only satisfied when that same activity is done in connection with the complete whole. Then you get that full experience, that unlimited experience. You understand? But why is that there? Because Krishna is pleased. Why is he pleased? Because it's personal. It's about him as a person and you as a person. It's not just, oh, I'm trying to get that eternal experience. That's the liberated platform. So this is beyond that. He is a person, you as a person. All the devotees as persons. That then you get something from it. So Yayati Maharaj said, he's tried. You know, you can't get better than that. You know, because it's said before he tells this story, he's expert at these things. Right? He knows what to do in sense gratification. And still, he's not finding satisfaction. So if you ever wonder why we're not satisfied, it's that, not that, well, I didn't get this position, or if I just had a little bit more facility, or a little bit more money, or if this person or that person would interact in this way with me instead of like that, or, you know, like this. We could go, we have a huge list, right? You know, the daily list. Bucket list is a different thing, the daily list. That if those things are just corrected, then everything will be perfect. Yayati Maharaj already did all that, and it doesn't work. So we have to have that faith that it can't work because mechanically it's wrong. We've decided, that's material consciousness. Material consciousness is we decide that the secondary can make you happy. That's just our pronouncement. But it's not only pleasing Krishna because we're part of the whole. That's why the example is given of the hand or or the leaves. Only when the root is watered, when the stomach is fed, then you'll get satisfied. It's a very straightforward example. You know, you can water the leaves, they'll look fabulous. The plant looks really great, you know, it just dies looking nice, you know. Does that make sense? So it's about the root. It's about the root. So here, then, that's his point, is that it doesn't matter what you have, you can't be satisfied. So you can only be, and you see, once he figured that out, then he started taking up service to the Lord, doing sacrifices, giving in charity, remembering the Lord, being absorbed in the Lord. That's the only way you can be happy. So take it from Yayati Maharaj. This is the method, okay? Right on. Any questions or comments? Yes, please. We have a mic? No mic? No mic? You'll have to rough it. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
In trying to understand your explanation of the diminishing of the energy of the Lord according to the size of space.
Yeah.
My mind is thinking, well, in the Lord, isn't really diminishing, there's an absolute nature to him of his potency. So are the energies the same way, where they're not diminished just because they have a little versus a lot?
Okay. Do the energies diminish when you have a small amount or not? No, it's like his incarnations. His incarnations are all him. But depending upon the situation, then they only manifest that much potency. Right? So therefore we have Krishna as complete. Then Balaram has that same completeness, so same 64 qualities, but he only manifests 60. But, you know, he has that same intensity, that fullness that's there. But then when he expands as Mahanarayan, then he only manifests those 60 in full, because the mood changes then. Then when he then expands into Sankarshan, then he's manifesting less of that, because now you're having 4 of them manifesting the potency of the one. Because as the one, he has all that, but there's different flavors of of his moods. So then he expands as 4, as the Chaturvyuha, to manifest those each mood in its fullness. But that fullness of each one is still less than that what it was from before. But Sankarshan, there is still Mahanarayan. It's still Balaram, it's still Krishna. But he's only manifesting that much. That's why we say he's there. That's why he says he's an expansion. Then he'll expand. And then in this case, expand into Mahavishnu. Right? And so he only has to expand his potencies as much as create the material world. Then is when he expands as Garbhodaksha, he only needs to expand as much as show as much potency as it takes to run one universe. And then as Kiradakshai Vishnu, then how much it takes to, manage the various energies and like this. Does that make sense? And so each one, it comes down, down, down. So even the earth, it's Krishna's potency. It's Krishna. But it only has to, just sit there. And that's its job. Right? So everything is Krishna. That's why, for we see in 11th canto, these greatly realized souls, they can see Krishna anywhere. And they can see the earth and the quality of the earth, and from that see Braja Krishna. Because he is expanded as this. That means here he's not directly Braja Krishna, but it's Braja Krishna who's expanded, who is therefore the earth. Right? So all those vibhutis Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, then those are all him. And a devotee can see him in all these. In fact, you can see in anything. But you just have to understand the technique of appreciating the superior quality in that anything. Right? Because that represents Krishna. So, therefore, is that even though any aspect could remind you of Krishna and give you that experience of Krishna, because we don't see it connected to Krishna, it only manifests the potency of what has been manifested for it to do that much. Does that make sense? So that's the difference. So that's why the sage, seeing one thing, he remembers Krishna, gets that full experience of Krishna. And the materialist, he only gets a very minor. Right? And let's say in his mind, that will make him happy. He's very excited about it. But how long can you be excited about the same thing? You get jaded, then it has no meaning. Even if it's the same thing, same potency. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't change. But because we've projected in our mind, if I manipulate the material energy like this, because when I see a situation, what's the opportunity? I can manipulate this situation to get some sense gratification. So I projected in my mind that this situation, manipulating to get this result, I will enjoy. And so if I have the knowledge, I have the skill, I have the karma, I manipulate, I get that result, I will say I'm happy. But the point is, since that's what's not making the soul happy, it can't. I've just projected that it will. After how many times getting the same result, it starts to get boring. That's where the boring comes from. Spiritual world, there's no such thing as boring. Boring is a material phenomenon. Right? Right? So boring just means I'm not experiencing Krishna. But the materialist doesn't know it's Krishna, so therefore now it's nothing. Right? Does that make sense? So then, that's why then they move to the next thing. Oh, that didn't work. So why didn't it work? Oh, because either the situation wasn't right, or how I manipulated wasn't quite right, or the result that I got wasn't quite right, or this particular thing isn't quite right. At first you're going to manipulate within it. You're going to try. Just that you're there at the ski resort, you're happy. You can't ski. You go out first day, you just fall on your face, but it was great fun. Then after a while, falling on your face kind of gets old. So then now you have to be able to ski. I bet you just do the regular things. Then it gets more and more extreme, where they're dropping you out of a helicopter onto, this and like that. And then now what do? Now you've tried everything. Now he'll give that up and go do something else. If he doesn't hit a tree or something, and that's it. Right? So then he'll try something else. Oh, maybe it's not this. Maybe it's scuba diving. And then they'll manipulate that until there's no more options. Then they'll switch to something else. Right? And then you have your bucket list. Right? right? Yeah. So it's a problem. So that's why it's said all you have to do is add Krishna, because that's the missing ingredient. It is the ingredient. So that's why it said we're cultivating Krishna. We have all the other stuff that, famous quote of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There's nothing lacking in the material world except Krishna consciousness. Right? We have our senses, the sense objects, means for the senses we have all the objects here. Spiritual senses, that's a different thing, but we don't have spiritual senses. We're working with external. Means if we are in Krishna conscious, then we can work with the spiritual senses. But then they're contacting Krishna. Right? Is that, yeah. So like that, then the living entity, when he understands that it's impossible, it's just mechanically impossible. By science, that's what you say. It's a science. It's just not possible. But we, out of sentiment, say, no, no, no. And then we call Krishna consciousness sentiment, and we call our sentiment science. Go figure. That's the mode of ignorance. What's right is wrong, and what's wrong is right. That's... Is that okay? Okay, very good. Yes. Oh, here's Mike. Here. Okay, thank you.
Yesterday's third one is the statement that a person 50 years old and the oldest should renounce from family life.
But it's not so much the oldest that's the right time.
At least somewhere around point you have to give up family life.
Yeah, that's the natural point. Like you can't eat anymore, so that's the time to get up from the table, right? It's a natural time. You could sit there and have conversations and do one of those European dinner things. Yeah, you could do the Roman thing, like that, and, whatever it is, and try to extend it, but that's the natural time to get up.
Reminded me when Radha days of time, Jayananda Prabhu, who was with us, he had left his wife in San Francisco with flowers in her hair, and came to associate with the sannyasis, Mr. John Maharaj and Krishna Goswami, to learn renunciation and giving that sort of life. And he was giving a class in Detroit and talking on this glorifying renunciation and giving up that attachment. And then the man in white was perturbed by Jayananda's preaching, and he started kind of firing on Jayananda with a heavy tone about how, it doesn't apply to us because our wives are devotees. Vidya Thakur, Bhakti Vidya Purna. It's, my wife is suitable boat across the ocean, pure distance.
Right.
And all, pro Vihastra.
I knew their Shastra.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I was looking over to Krishna Goswami, who was sitting behind his danda. He didn't like the tone that this devotee had with Jayananda. And I was noticing he started to kind of simmer, and then it just got to a point where he just boiled over. Broke into the conversation and said, so why is it that all of our previous acharyas have at some point in their life completely renounced family life, gone to the forest, gone on to preaching, and completely renounced the pure existence of God? So we see this statement a lot, that at 50 we should walk away from it. And then at the same time, we don't do that. A lot of us are in our 60s, some 70s, and clinging on to that, Vidya Purna Swami. So is it somehow, those points are like, seems like it's really saying directly, like if you read yesterday's report, not just renouncing in art, but really the actual physical act of giving up.
So is that on it? So it's just confusion between these two? Is that
the question is like, should it really be done, or is it necessary?
Is it necessary? See, it's what we're talking about is here, is when we say the heart, that's the big thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, do you have, let's say, could you call it a stereotypical situation where some discussion between the husband and wife comes up and it gets very intense, and somebody walks out the door and goes for a walk or a ride, or, you know, even packs their bags and this and that, and yes or no, right? And so leaving isn't actually the big thing, because when they walk out that door, have they given up the idea of sense gratification? Or have they just found, at this moment, this relationship's not working for sense gratification, so I don't want to have anything to do with it, since this relationship's all about sense gratification? So being frustrated there, you know, walking out. I mean, another stereotypical is, you know, throwing stuff, you know, like plates and things like that. Plates are really good. They really fly. But I have heard of you know, electronic equipment that also flies really well. And since the man's really into electronic equipment, it also has an emotional impact, right? Besides the physical, right? You know, so this kind of thing. So you do have people leaving these things, divorcing, moving out of like that, but have they given up grihastha life? Right? So we sometimes make it that, no, this is the real thing. It's not the thing of the heart. Yeah, we know about that, but this. But that's again the part where I'm talking about the external, the secondary. The secondary has to be connected to the primary. Then it has substance. So the whole idea is that if you haven't figured it out already by 50, then you should leave and go to the forest so you can figure it out. Right? In other words, if you haven't figured it out at 50, there's a good chance you won't figure it out. Right? Because, you know, I mean, basically everything falls, it depends on your health and your regulation and that. Things fall apart, you know, seriously at 80. Some people it's before that, if you don't already have a heart attack or something. But, you know, things really fall apart, nothing works. So then you kind of got to, you know, figure it out. But then it'll just be that companionship based on companionship. Because when it says the wife, you know, for crossing the ocean means you're taking, what is this ocean? Ocean is material desire, right? And so, and how much material desire do we have? If we wanted to list them all, it's unlimited, right? Yeah, our arms aren't big enough, right? You know, it's like, how much money do you want? Yeah. How much desire? Yeah. It's the same, yeah? You know, it's unlimited. So that's the whole thing, is that it's unlimited. So to cross that ocean, you're taking it from unlimited down to one. That's the process. You're taking it from everything to one, and then from one to none. That's the process. So if you haven't reduced it down to one, you're not going to get to none. So as long as they keep it that it's just a matter of sense gratification, whoever can give that, then that's okay. This one's giving, I'll stay with them, but they're not, I'll go to someone else. That means it's not down to one. So the mentality hasn't been gained. So when it says that a wife can help one cross over that ocean, it's because now you're dealing with one. You can deal with one. Right? Does that make sense? And so that's what we're talking about. It's not that hanging out with the women gets you over the ocean. Otherwise, then why would we have to go through all the trouble of surrender to Guru and all that? That might be easier, though, than, you know. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of you just hang out with it. The Shastra would say, just hang out with women and you'll cross over the ocean of material suffering. Right? Do we find any shlokas like that? You know? Even on our, you know, pro-grihastha, no, it's not there. So it's only when it's right down, and then within that, then the masculine and feminine, because the masculine and feminine relationship includes all the engagements of the senses that are possible. Right? Whatever is there, it's in its fullness there. That's why we say one. You bring it down to one. Now in that realm, now you can deal with the senses on all their platforms. Right? Then dealing with on all those platforms, then you start to see it's not the woman, it's following the duties that are giving some satisfaction. And following those duties in connection with the woman, then that's there. And so for someone to be comfortable to hang around with you while you figure that out, then you have to be grateful for that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's because it's based on relationship. The whole Vedic thing's based on relationship. That's why there's such a push on relationship. Now, we'll have a tendency to say, oh, that's all mundane. In karma it is, but then replacing karma with gyan, it's not so much better. It's like out of the frying pan into the fire. At least with the one you can relate to personal, the other one you can't relate to personal. Right? So it does have its downside. It has to be replaced with bhakti. Now that's complete. So therefore, the senses are being engaged according to duties now for Krishna. Right? Because women like duties. Why do they like duties? Because duties or piety gives good results. Good results means good experience. Women don't like bad experience. You understand? Men tough through it. Women just don't like it. Right? It means if no one else will do it, they'll do it. Because they know you have to do it. But if someone else will do it, why would they do it? Right? That's why it says women are 4 times more clever than men. This is where it applies. Right? And the man, well, so he does. So the whole idea is that now you've connected, you're doing these things in connection with the wife for Krishna. That's where you cross the ocean, not because you're married. You understand? So that's the whole point. You're engaging all desire. Naistika brahmachari means he doesn't have any desire, or at least not enough to apply it in marriage life, because marriage life means you need a good volume of desire to be able to work with it. So if you don't have that much, you just don't get married. You know, if all you're attached to is a nice dhoti or some fancy neck beads, or, you know, that's not, you don't get married for that. You know what I'm saying? You kind of have to have the, you know, the house, home, you know, family, you know, all those kind of things. So then you're able to engage. You cut it down to that one. Now, if you accomplish that in the heart, that is just about Krishna, that's the grihe tako vani tako. Right? Does that make sense? You know, otherwise then you may not be talking about the Bengali taco, you may be talking about the Mexican taco. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you know, like I say hot and spicy, right? You know. Yeah, so we're not talking, we have to see that there's a difference there. So the whole Vedic system is you figure that out. Now you could figure that out as a brahmachari and just remain as a Naistika brahmachari. If you haven't, you've understood it but haven't realized that you get married. The idea of getting married is you know it's not its limitation, but you know its usefulness and getting rid of the attachment to that limitation. That's what it's for. Right? And so therefore then if at 50 that's been accomplished, then one moves on. Right? But the point is you're moving on to the position of vanaprastha. Right? And that means there's a change in heart. They're not grihastas. So it's still man and wife, but they're not grihastas. They're not trying to increase. They're not trying to enjoy. They're just maintaining the facility. They've figured out. It means you've been together 20, 30 years. You figure out what works, what you can eat, what clothes you wear, how big of a place you need, what you actually do, your daily schedule, and what works, what vacation works, what conversation works, how much time together, how much time apart. You figured that out, right? At least one ideally should have. And so how much is the minimum that it works nicely, it's comfortable. It's not luxurious, you're not going crazy. That's how much you maintain, and that's it. That's called vanaprastha. Grihastha means you're expanding it. It's getting more and more and more. Vanaprastha means it's not getting any more. There's that much you need. And then with time, you find it gets less and less as you can do less things, and this and those things go. You know, that bicycle you'd ride and you keep fit and do all that, and then you can't do that anymore. You just walk. So you get rid of the bicycle. Right? Does that make sense? You just slowly, things adjust. And so that's vanaprastha. That they're self-realized. Right? So the man has his duties, woman has theirs. It's the mechanics of what is the nature that's there. It's not given by us. It's not by the soul. It's just what physical and mental facilities you have. They're able to use those together. Right? And they match nicely. Does that make sense? So then they continue like that, and they can continue like that until they die. And we see in Bhagavatam so many examples. So when it says go to the forest, it means give up grihastha life. It doesn't mean that you have to walk out the door and take sannyas. If that's favorable and you can do that, why wouldn't you? You know, if it's a matter of you and the wife, it's working very nicely together and Krishna conscious supportive, why wouldn't you do that? If that doesn't work, and for them to be Krishna conscious and you need a little bit of space, then you do it that way. But the point is whenever you are together, you can be. You haven't taken a vow, you're not. That's sannyas. The vanaprastha, maybe he goes out traveling, she stays at home with the kids, you know, because now the kids got kids, and so, you know, it's more interesting. Like that. And so she's there, and he comes back every few months and that, and hangs out for, you know, whatever it is, some days, few weeks, then he's off again. Sometimes she goes, sometimes she doesn't, sometimes, you know, this, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Or they do everything together, or they split it up like this. So that's the point. Vanaprastha has the maximum amount of facilities, the widest range between being situated in grihastha facility, but now is vanaprastha, and sannyas. Sannyas is narrow. This is what you got. You understand? So then that's that mentality of moving on for grihastha life, that's what it says one should do at 50. You should be convinced that there, like Yayati, there is no enjoyment. He was fully satisfied with the understanding that there is no satisfaction in the material world. He was fully satisfied that he didn't have to try one more thing to just see, well, what about this? So that's what we're striving for. So this mentality should be being practiced right from it should have been already cultivated from brahmacharya. Right? Because then you know as it can be used grihastha. Then you get a more mature brahmachari, and then if he doesn't, then it's easier for him to remain a brahmachari, or if he does get married, he'll be a more mature grihastha. But if it's just this thing is brahmachari and that's real and grihasthas are all, you know, out there in the ozone somewhere like that, makes bad brahmacharis and bad grihasthas. And those bad grihasthas don't make very good vanaprasthas. You understand? So when Prabhupada said first-class brahmachari becomes first-class grihastha, we mean first-class brahmachari. But the difference is, someone may ask, one lady asked a question, but why would a first-class brahmachari get married? You know? Right? The guys didn't ask this, they just kind of sit there. And the lady went, well, wait a minute here. You know? You know, it's kind of like, is it possible to marry the first-class ones? They know, we haven't seen it. You know, so it means the difference between the first-class brahmachari who's upakurvana and the first-class brahmachari who's naistika is one has understanding or gyan, and he's convinced of that, but he doesn't have realization. The naistika has vigyan. He has realization. So he just doesn't need to. So that's the difference. So the training for brahmachari is the same whether they're going to get married or not. We take it off, if they're going to get married, then we don't need to be strict. And if they're not going to get married, then, you know, strict as a thunderbolt. Point is, it's the same training. The same training in what is brahmachari life, what is grihastha life. That separates the two. Because the one, he's not sure if you get married or not, and then by hearing then someone will go, no, that's not what I want. And then they're convinced about being a brahmachari. And someone else goes, okay, yeah, no, I could relate to that, I could do that. But to do that, I have to be dutiful and have a good service attitude and be dynamic, right? Women don't like not dynamic people, right? So you have to be, doing something like that. It's like couch potato is not the first thing that comes to a lady's mind when they go out shopping for husbands, right? They think of something dynamic and doing something and accomplishing things, right? So that's brahmachari. Brahmachari is the one who's doing. So then it just separates the two, and the two can still function very nicely in their duties because now they have that same mentality of what to do. But one's just going to keep doing that, and the other one knows that without that, I won't be a good grihastha. Does that make sense? So that's the whole point, is when we put the emphasis on the primary, then we can see the secondary in a more pleasant light. It doesn't change the depth of it or the seriousness of it. It just doesn't make it hard. In other words, the solution to karma is not jnana. The solution to karma and jnana is bhakti. So when bhakti is there, then where karma is used, it's used. Where jnana is used, it's used. Does that make sense? So the brahmachari is using more jnana, but that doesn't mean that those who are engaged in karma, there's something wrong with them. Does that make sense? So like that, one has to appreciate that all the things that it says about the glory of grihastha life, it's all true, but in the context of being Krishna conscious. And all the things that the Shastra says about leaving it are also true in the context of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is the only thing that makes that all hold together. And if you have that, then you have mature grihastas that aren't, out on a campaign that, people being brahmacharis, how you say, they're not being honest and all that. We know them. I was a brahmachari before, and and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, maybe that was the second or third class brahmachari, but first class is something else. So the whole point is that thing where the grihastas try to get rid of brahmacharis, or where brahmacharis, look down on grihastas. This is all immature. It's just immature. Because the point is you take whatever medicine works for you to get you back to Godhead. So we can't go into the shop and only the medicine that what we take, that's all there should be. Right? We've seen that in history. Right? It's a very common thing, is that what I'm doing, that's what the world should do. I mean, how you say, the library at Alexandria, is witness to that. Is that it's just what I'm doing, that's it. If I'm a brahmachari, everyone's a brahmachari. If I'm a grihastha, everyone's a grihastha. I'm a sannyasi, everyone's a sannyasi. Does that make sense? I'm a temple devotee, then everyone else is nonsense. I'm a community devotee, then everyone else is nonsense. And, it's like this. So these are all immature platforms because it's materialistic. We're taking our conditioning and like that without an understanding of the philosophy, the culture. So philosophy is there, but it has to be applied to the culture. So bhakti is very pleasant, very exact, very scientific, but pleasant. We're used to that if it's truth, it's not pleasant. That's the nice thing. Krishna consciousness, it's truth, but it's pleasant. It has its reality, and we have to contemplate it and have to appreciate that. And so if someone does take this very aggressive grihastha side, then, much of the time the natural counter is a very aggressive renunciation side. But that's not actually the point. The point is about the attitude. Right? So the acharyas do because of the mentality. And people are grihastas because of the mentality. Yayati wants that use so he can overcome this. He doesn't want it just so he can enjoy himself. It's not that after 1,000 years he goes, wow, that was great. Wish it went for another 1,000 years, but hey, I did promise my son, so I'll give him his youth back. But, really be cool if he didn't ask for it, I might not give it. What is it? Don't ask, don't give, whatever like that. Right? So But no, he does that for that purpose. And we see in the Bhagavatam many times. Kardama Muni is an example. He's a brahmachari, but he knows he has enough material desire to warrant being a grihasta, so he approaches the Lord. And his whole purpose is to go back to Godhead. Right? Does that make sense? And so that's the whole, so that mentality is there, but we take it, it's like if you're into grihasta life, it's totally that. There's nothing else. Or it's this. Why can't it be that this is where I'm at now? This is what I have to do now. And the Vedic thing is this is what you have to do now, and you have a 25-year commitment to it. Right? Then you can move into vanaprastha. Does that make sense? Now, we may see couples, they may start living simpler earlier than that, if it's there. There's no children are grown up, or whatever it is. Then they might start living a simpler life before that. But as long as there's family and this and that, then it can't be as simple as, a vanaprastha would be comfortable with in facility. But the mentality can be the same. That's why Krishna explains sannyas and renunciation. Renunciation means I have something, I give it up for Krishna. Right? So that's the argument here. No, we can keep it. And the other is, no, you have to give it up. But sannyasa is the actual one that Krishna's recommended. It was never yours in the first place. It's always Krishna's. So grihasta life, it's not yours, it's Krishna's. Vanaprastha, it's not yours, it's Krishna's. Sannyasa, it's not yours, it's Krishna's. Otherwise, the grihasta who thinks grihasta life is mine, then vanaprastha will be his and sannyasa will be his. Does that make sense? But if it's Krishna's, then it won't be all across the board. So the mentality of sannyas we see in Prahlad Maharaj at 3 years old. But he grew up, became a grihasta and everything, because in his family they're all demons. So demons are married. Demons, we don't really see renounced demons. It's just that's just they just don't do that. So he's married. Right? But he does all those things, and then his son, his grandson, Ali Maharaj is also a married person. But it's just about Krishna, so that's sannyas, it's the mentality. So latest is at 50, you should start dynamically trying to practice that. That's the point that's being made. Does that make sense? You should have been practicing before that, but if nothing else, then at least because you've been distracted by externals. So now, why don't we make the externals look more like sannyas? So we'll start with renunciation, because vanaprastha is renunciation. Sannyas is supposed to be sannyas. No, but if you can do sannyas at vanaprastha, or do it at grihasta, or do it as brahmachari, better. Right? Because grihasta is about giving things up. They got lots of stuff, they get rid of it. Sannyasi doesn't have anything anyway. You know what I'm saying? And it's not his anyway, it belongs to Krishna. Does that make sense? So vanaprastha is where renunciation is happening. That's where the focus on. I have stuff, I'm used to stuff, I can get by with less stuff. Not that brahmacharis and sannyasis aren't doing that also, but there it's the major thing they're doing. Just like the grihasta, the major thing they're doing is creating the facility. So the vanaprastha, the major thing is getting rid of that facility. And sannyasa is maintaining no facility. It's not yours, it's Krishna's. And brahmacharya, it's not yours. But you're not necessarily mature enough to appreciate that. Does that make sense? Is that okay? Does that work? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakti Vidya ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.